No one talks about DCI, William Afton's second five-child killing spree, this time in the FNAF 2 location. We see it clearly displayed in the Save Them minigame, and the toy animatronics have indisputable signs of possession. It's constantly ignored and forgotten about, but it's so much more important than it seems. Why? Let's break it down. First off, there's a common argument made saying the toys are not possessed, and that their weird behavior is based solely off their facial recognition programming bugging out. But this doesn't make sense. The toys contain the same traits as the classics, displaying the fact that they're haunted, like how they glitch out cameras and they have blacked out eyes with silver pupils, a detail that, according to the Silverized novel, means an animatronic is possessed. The glitching facial recognition might actually be because they're possessed. And Phone Guy says that they play well with kids but hate adults, which also lines up with what we know about ghost children from the books. They dislike adults they don't recognize because they think those adults are trying to take away their happiest day. Keep in mind that an animatronic doesn't need to be stuffed with a corpse to become possessed by it. Charlie possessed the marionette because they were physically close to each other, so it stands to reason that the same thing happened with the toys. Just like the puppet, the toys are programmed to protect children, so why wouldn't they get close to the kids they're supposed to protect as well? I also think it's important to note that there's no way Save Them is a retelling of the original MCI. The restaurant just doesn't match up, and we know William killed the MCI kids in broad daylight, whereas Save Them is depicted at a time where all the toy animatronics are deactivated, so it can't be in the day. It's also impossible that William was able to off these kids and leave their corpses out while the restaurant is still accepting customers. So if the toys are possessed, what happened to them? We never see these animatronics again, we never see them get a happiest day, and we never see them burn. Or do we? Molten MCI has always bothered me. According to Scott, Happiest Day is canon, and I don't think it nor DCI are the infamous retcon. So if these souls are put to rest, how are they possessing Ballora, Funtime Freddy, and Funtime Foxy? And if Candy Cadet is supposed to be the proof for this theory, then why are all his stories about 5 things becoming one when there are 6 kids possessing these guys? Most of us probably can agree that the crying child is possessing Golden Freddy, along with Cassidy. So how are Candy Cadet stories applicable when Molten MCI would technically be 6 things becoming one? Also, if Henry's goal in Pizza Sim is to set all the souls to rest, then why does he just completely ignore the toy animatronics, which we've already established are possessed? It just doesn't make sense. Even if William was destroying the classics in the FNAF 3 minigames to extract Remnant, he never got to do it because he died that night. Molten MCI just doesn't work in my opinion. But if Molten DCI is true, suddenly things make a lot more sense. The toys never got their happiest day, so they were never put to rest. Unlike the classics, the toys actually do only have 5 souls in them, so Candy Cadet's stories now line up. And if the Funtimes are possessed with the souls of the toy animatronics, then it makes sense why Henry never went after the toys, because their souls are now in Molten Freddy. The Funtimes even look like they were designed after the toy animatronics. Just look at Funtime Foxy and Mangle. And besides those two, the Funtimes share the toys' rosy cheek designs. And it makes sense from a writing standpoint that William's child murder robots parallel the robots made to keep kids safe. I believe the toy animatronics were made by Henry, as they have similar child protection programming as the marionette, and he has motivation to attempt to prevent another killing spree at a Freddy's restaurant. It could also explain his absence in this part of the timeline. If Molten DCI is true, then that lines up as well, as the souls would be in prisons of his making, and if those souls now possess the Funtimes, his line of "now set to new purpose" works too. The souls of children that possess the robots made by Henry to protect them, forced to inhabit robots made by William to kill other children, is so much more narratively compelling than the toy animatronics just being possessed and then left to rot. People connect Toy Chica's freaky little story in UCN to William and say that's how he killed the MCI kids. But that never worked for me. The one that's supposed to be about Cassidy especially was weird. If MCI all took place in one day at the same time at Freddy's, how does William stalking a kid after school and then slamming their head with a shovel work? It doesn't. But it does work if this is about DCI. Why is Toy Chica of all characters here? She's one of the animatronics that these souls end up possessing. Then if DCI takes place at night after Freddy's is closed, as it appears to, then William going out of his way to kidnap kids from different places and bring them to Freddy's makes sense, whereas with MCI, it doesn't. Think about what we know about the souls inside the Funtimes. Lines like, "You don't know what we've been through," and "don't hold it against us," suddenly makes so much sense if they're possessed by kids that were kidnapped, brought to a Freddy's restaurant, brutally murdered, possessed robots that failed to keep them safe, then ripped apart and forced to possess robots that are tortured with controlled shocks and programmed to kill children just like them. With that context in mind, their lines are now haunting. With all that said, there's a question to be asked. Why does any of this matter? None of the kids of either children incident are really that important outside of Cassidy, and they all end up in UCN together anyway. If the blob is these souls, that doesn't change much either, whether it's possessed by the MCI or DCI. So what's the point? To me, at least, the point is story. I think details like this matter to make a compelling narrative. I think not only does Molten DCI make more sense than Molten MCI, but it just makes for a better story overall. There are less weird questions and plot holes, and things just tie up neater and nicer. Feel free to leave a comment about your thoughts on this theory, and thank you for watching. Bye!